أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah ta'ala, today is a huge effort. I am hoping that this lecture lasts about 90 minutes and I have a tall order to finish quite a few things with you in those 90 minutes. So I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that not only do I have clarity in speech and what I'm trying to convey, but I'm able to do so in a way that you're able to keep up with and inshallah ta'ala benefit from. The intention behind this dars is actually to cover the few ayat in the Quran and the only place in the Quran that talks about the month of Ramadan. So these are ayat beginning with ayah number 183 onwards that deal with fasting and then onwards the month of Ramadan. And the way I'm going to be giving this talk, I'll try to organize it into distinct parts. So I'm going to give you guys an introduction. That should take about 10 to 15 minutes. Then I'm going to go through 4 parts and then I'm going to give you a conclusion. So it's altogether 6 things. Introduction, part 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the conclusion, which is kind of like a part 6. That's how we're going to try to get through this. So in this introduction, it's very important for me as a student of the Quran to first understand where does a passage belong. It's not just ayat of the Quran, they belong within a surah. And that's part of Allah's grand design, to place a message within a particular surah, right? So some things have to be understood about the larger message of Surah Al-Baqarah, and then within that context about the ayat of Ramadan, and that I feel is very, very important. So even though I thought before about skipping that stuff, I do feel very, very strongly that that overview needs to be given. I'll highlight one dimension of that overview. One of the strongest messages that comes across to a careful reader and a careful student of Surah Al-Baqarah is the message that this religion of Islam is actually the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's actually in a very succinct and comprehensive way. Baqarah's message is that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to complete the legacy of Abraham. That's actually one of the central messages of this surah. And about Ibrahim alayhi salam, the relationship between himself and all of Islam, it's a couple of things quickly that I'll mention. You can even argue that all of the 5 pillars of Islam that we call Bunya al-Islamu ala khams, right? We use the word pillars even though I believe that to be inaccurate, because the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says Bunya al-Islam. Islam is founded upon 5 things. When you say it's founded upon 5 things, it actually means that's part of the foundation. But when you talk about pillars, they're actually above the foundation. They're actually the visible part of a structure on which other things are built. And structurally and even thematically, these are 2 very different things. A foundation helps you build up, or pillars help you build upwards. But a foundation is actually that which before you do it, you can't build anything else. Nothing else can exist. So it's actually the very, very 5 foundational aspects of Islam that is what we commonly call the 5 pillars of Islam, right? Now each one of those 5 actually in one way or the other is attributed to Ibrahim alayhi salam, and I'll show you that rather quickly. And I'll get to Ramadan at the end of those 5. I think everybody here in the audience and most of the people that are watching online also know that about those 5 pillars, but let's go through them. The Shahada, the concept of Tawheed, of one unique God that deserves worship, that cannot be compared to anything, laysa kamithlihi shay. This concept is most accurately attributed to Ibrahim alayhi salam and more directly attributed to Ibrahim alayhi salam than any other. Actually, the idea of monotheistic faiths is also called the Abrahamic faiths, right? And the demonstration that there can only be one true God, and to make the case and the arguments for that, no one's gone out of their way to make the argument and compelling cases for that other than Ibrahim alayhi salam. So the idea of La ilaha illallah itself, by the way, tied to that is of course the construction of the Kaaba. The purpose of building the Kaaba was to establish Tawheed. And the Prophet ﷺ's mission, one of the ways you can look at the Prophet's mission ﷺ, is to liberate that Kaaba, is to restore its original place. In other words, to restore the original legacy of Abraham to worship one single God, right? So subhanAllah, the Shahada directly goes back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. The prayers, which is such a fundamental to Islam, the 5 prayers, Rabbi ja'alni muqima salati, is the prayer of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Make me one who establishes the prayer, and out of my offspring. So when we establish the prayer, we're actually fulfilling the prayer of Ibrahim alayhi salam in doing so. The Hajj is probably one of the easiest to explain. Right? Hajj, the act of pilgrimage, is actually every part of it commemorates the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We're going around the house that he built. We have a special prayer at Maqam Ibrahim, وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. We're running between Safa and Marwa as his family did. Right? We're drinking Zamzam, that is part of history. We're pelting the Iblis as his family did, as he was actually taking his son for the sacrifice. Then the sacrifice itself commemorates the sacrifice he was supposed to make of Ismail alayhi salam. So the entire ritual of Hajj is actually a ritual commemorating the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So we've got the Shahada, the Tawheed of Islam, we've got the prayer going back to Ibrahim, then we've got the Hajj going back to Ibrahim. The not so obvious ones are Zakah and Ramadan, and fasting in Ramadan, but they're also attributed back to Ibrahim alayhi salam, and I'll show you how. As far as Zakat is concerned, the immediate son, the one who passed the tests along with him, was Ismail alayhi salam. Yes, the ones who built the Kaaba together. About him, Allah says, كَانَ يَأْمُرُ أَهْلَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ وَكَانَ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ مَرْضِيًّا. Ismail alayhi salam used to tell his family to pray and give zakat. Where did he learn to tell his family to pray and to give zakat? From his father, Ibrahim alayhi salam, his teacher in the deen. So zakat goes back directly to the legacy of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salam. But the least obvious one is actually Ramadan. How does Ramadan, these 30 days of fasting, how do they go back and attribute them, or how are we to attribute them to the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam? Ibrahim alayhi salam, as he was building the Kaaba, realized this is not just something for the worship of God for himself or his immediate family. This is something that is supposed to maintain and retain that true religion for generations to come. And he saw that religion deteriorates over time. He had the foresight to acknowledge that religion deteriorates. So within that barren desert, he made this dua. And that dua was رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. As he's building the Kaaba, he asked Allah, along with his son Ismail, Ya Allah, send a messenger from among them who will recite your ayat, who will recite your revelations. And he's going to teach them the book and the wisdom, and he's going to cleanse them. This is actually a prayer mentioned within the story of Surah Al-Baqarah itself, before we get to the ayat of Ramadan. Now, of course, which son was with him when he made this prayer? Ismail. And in between those two, in their lineage, the only next prophet to come is only one of them, and that's Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the other side, Ibrahim alayhi salam has another son, Ishaq. But Ishaq is himself a prophet. He has a son, Yaqub, who's a prophet, who has a son, Yusuf, who's a prophet. Later on, from the same, from the children of Israel, because Yaqub's other name is Israel, you've got kullama halaka nabiyyun khalafa nabiyyun, like the prophet would tell us. Every time a prophet would die, another would take his place. Every generation had a prophet. They had a continuous chain of prophethood from the Ishaq side of Ibrahim's family. But there's only one prophet in these thousands of years, only one more prophet to come on the Ismail side of the Prophet's family, and that is who? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what does Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? He receives the Quran. When did he receive the Quran? He received it in Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr belongs in which month? Ramadan. And what does Allah say about Ramadan? It's the month in which the Quran was sent down. In other words, let me summarize this for you. Ramadan is a celebration that Abraham's prayer was finally answered. He made a prayer thousands of years ago. Ya Allah, send a messenger who will recite your revelations. Who is that messenger? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When did he come? When did he become a messenger? In the month of Ramadan. Right? So that's what we're actually celebrating, that long age-old dua that was made in that land, thousands of years before Rasulullah was ever born, was finally answered through the coming of the Qur'an in the month of Ramadan. So all 5 pillars, in one way or the other, are traced back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's the first point that I wanted to make to all of you. The second point that I wanted to make to all of you, I've in passing mentioned that there are 2 family lines. There's the line of Ibrahim through Ismail, and there's the line from Ibrahim through Ishaq. Right? And what's really beautiful about Surah Al-Baqarah is when Allah did talk about the 2 lineages of Abraham, He actually described that one of them, meaning the children of Ismail, through both of them, they called themselves Muslim. رَبَّنَا وَجْعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ, make us Muslim before you. And through the children of Yaqub and that tradition, yes, نَعْبُدُ إِلَهَكَ وَإِلَهَ آبَائِكَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَعِيلَ وَإِسْحَاقَ إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا وَنَحْنُ لَهُ Muslimun. Both lineages considered themselves Muslim. Both lineages considered themselves Muslim. So what we think of now as Islam versus Judaism, we think of it as 2 different religions, right? That is not the original view of things. Even they themselves thought of the people that live by revelation, and anybody who lives by the revelation from the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam saw themselves as a Muslim. That's the original name. Whether they're willing to acknowledge that name or not, that's what they actually were. Now this is important to mention because when this surah was revealed, the Prophet ﷺ had already moved to Medina. And when he had moved to Medina, he encountered a large contingent of the Jewish community, particularly rabbis, who were very knowledgeable in their tradition. And in that tradition, of course, they saw themselves, interestingly enough, not entirely as a different faith. They didn't see themselves entirely as a different faith. And the Prophet ﷺ actually emphasized that the religion that he's brought is not something that is a separate religion from what they practice. He didn't emphasize that. As a matter of fact, we hear in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. In the Quran, we also hear Ya Bani Israel. A direct address. Allah didn't do that with anybody else. He didn't say Ya Nasara. He didn't do that with the Quraysh. He didn't say Ya ayyuhal mushrikun. Or Ya ayyuhalladhina kafaru. Even the one time it's done is referring to Judgment Day when Allah addresses them. But never in this world. But Ya Bani Israel, they're addressed directly. And actually a lot of the commandments they're given are the same commandments we're given. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ was told to them in the same, meaning hold on to patience and prayer, seek aid from patience and prayer. And later on, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sta'inu bis-sabri was-salah, same commandments. It's like he's talking to the people belonging within the same religious framework, right? And they look at the parallels. The Prophet ﷺ would fast on the same days as they did. Middle 3 days of the month, celebration of Ashura, he said we are more worthy of it than they are. It was a great day of victory in the life of Musa alayhi salam, and then this is something he attributed. The Muslims should celebrate it more. They're more worthy of it. Subhanallah. The Quran talks about Musa alayhi salam more than any other prophet. That should tell you enough of how joined these 2 legacies are, right? How we're not seeing them as 2 different, Arab versus Jew, or children of Israel versus children of Ismail. It's not like that. It's just, it was one thing to them because the tie between the 2 of them was Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then on top of that, not only did the Prophet ﷺ fast on the same days as they did, not only did the Prophet ﷺ acknowledge the great contributions of Musa alayhi salam, and Allah kept revealing to him more and more about the legacy of Musa alayhi salam and the Israelite prophets. As a matter of fact, the majority prophets mentioned in the Quran are the Israelite prophets, right? That the ones that came to them one after the other. Then the third piece of it also was the Prophet was praying in what direction for all this time? He was praying towards Jerusalem. They even had the same direction of prayer. And when the great miracle of the Prophet ﷺ is mentioned, the night journey is not from Mecca to the heavens. Where does he go first? He goes to Jerusalem first and acknowledges the importance of that place first. And through acknowledging that place, acknowledges that entire tradition. So even the Jews that came into contact with the Prophet ﷺ saw that he's fulfilling all the signs that we were looking for, a confirmation of our religion. He's not coming and claiming a different religion. All their experts could tell that this is actually the prophet that was foretold in our books. Now I want you to paint a little bit of a picture as part of this introduction. You have people nowadays, for example, we're living in modern times. A long time has passed since the coming of our Prophet ﷺ. So nowadays, for instance, you might want to know what are the signs of the Day of Judgment? What are the minor signs of the Day of Judgment? And what are the major signs of the Day of Judgment? And you have lectures about that. You have lectures telling you, when this happens, and this happens, and this happens, then the Day of Judgment is near. And you hear this stuff and you go, oh my God, there's like 8 of that stuff's already happened. Oh, the one eye thing? Oh my God, the dollar bill has one eye too, and the minions have one eye, and like, my webcam has one eye and the one eye is taken over and the jal's here, and you might go nuts thinking all the signs are here, and it's about to go down, and you're like awaiting this one-eyed cyclops dude coming that's gonna wreak havoc in the world, and it might really terrify you. But we have that tradition. Part of that tradition is we have to study the signs of the coming of Judgment Day. But for the Jewish faith, you have to understand they were told a final messenger is coming. And what did I tell you about their lineage? Every time a prophet died, what happened? Another took his place. Another would take his place. But the last one to come to them was Isa alayhi salam. And now it's been 6 centuries of no prophets. 6 centuries of just blank. And for the Ismail side of things, they've had no score for a long time. So they're used to the starvation. They don't even remember the idea that they're supposed to be a prophet. But on the other side, it's been 6 centuries, and with every passing month, not every year even, their desperation. And they knew when there's a long gap, then the last one's coming. They knew that. That's what they knew. So now they're in even more anticipation that last and final messenger is coming. This became a thing. They would study this stuff. They would discuss this stuff. They would give sermons about this stuff. The final one's coming. And when the final one comes, Allah will guarantee him victory. And He's going to restore the faith of Ibrahim. And He's going to come in this land. And their people would hear it. And then they would go and sometimes they would get into fights with the mushrikun Arabs. And they would lose. And when they would lose, يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. They would actually say, oh yeah, we've studied our days, the signs of the final prophet. We just heard a lecture. He's coming, and when he comes, we're going to get you back. And they used to actually say, oh, you just wait, because he's coming. And then it's on. So they were actually very much anticipating the coming of that final messenger. Of course, when Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came, and they saw their congregations, not the scholars, not the speakers, not the khatibs, the congregation. Man, I heard a lecture that described him. This last Saturday, because they observe the Sabbath, right? This last Saturday, I just heard a whole talk about what looks like this man. And they're starting to get impressed with the Prophet ﷺ. And they're starting to come towards Islam. Who came in the way? The rabbi said, no, hold on. We're going to lose all our congregation this way. You can't just join him. Let me tell you why that's not the real messenger, ﷺ. And so they tried to block him too. Now the last one they tried to block was Isa alayhi salam. And now the final one has come and they tried to block him too, accessed him from their own congregation. And it is at this point that Allah decided that they should not be looked at, these two should not be looked at as one religion anymore. They have hammered the final nail in their own coffin. They are not going to be addressed directly as people that still have a chance. Because that's the other thing they got used to. They used to do all kinds of blasphemy with their prophets and get away with it. Another prophet's going to come anyway. It's all good. It's not like our nation got destroyed. We're not like Ad or Thamud or Firaun or whatever else. We keep getting extra chances. So they started taking that for granted. Allah decided, no, I'm going to take your status as that nation away from you. So what does He do? He first says, if you really want to be proud of your Jewish heritage. By the way, what was the primary reason for rejecting the Prophet ﷺ? He's from the line of Ismail. If he was from the line of Ishaq, no problem. But he's from the line of Ismail. And so Allah makes the case in Surah Al-Baqarah, if you're so proud of your heritage, why don't you show loyalty to Ibrahim? If you really want to show loyalty to Ibrahim. And he's just as related to Ibrahim alayhi salam as you are. So he makes that case. Through making that case, he starts talking about the building of the Kaaba. And as he talks about the building of the Kaaba, next subject, the Muslims, they're no longer going to pray towards Jerusalem. They're going to pray towards Makkah. The capital of Islam has changed. The capital has changed. Every new nation has a new capital. So long as we were praying in the same direction, we were in a sense still the same nation. Giving them, you can consider them a deviant group, a lost group within the nation. But now that your prayer direction has changed, you're entirely a different religion now. You're a different religion. And they sensed it. They sensed that this is a problem. It's like they felt the rug was being pulled from under their feet. So they got alarmed. And so they said, why are you praying in a different direction? مَا وَلَّاهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمُ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. The question I ask is, listen, if you don't think he's a messenger and you think this religion is all made up, whether they pray left, right, up, down, whether they pray on their heads, or what does that matter to you? Why are you offended that they're praying not towards Jerusalem anymore? The only way you could be offended is deep down inside you know he is in fact the messenger, and now Allah has decided to not give you the favor anymore, and He's forcing you to convert and show your loyalty by turning towards the Qibla, the Al-Masjid al-Haram, you see? So the capital changed. I'll move along quickly. When the capital changed, then soon after the next major change. And the next major change was the Prophet ﷺ used to pray, fast on the same days as them. Same days as them. And they were about 3 days in a month, okay? And all of a sudden a revelation comes. Now you don't fast on the same days as them. When do you fast now? The month of Ramadan. And why do you fast on the month of Ramadan? Because Qur'an was revealed in it. And Qur'an is not for one nation. Allah in that ayah says, Hudal linnas, it's for all people. So I'm not going to restrict it to some one group. Like the Israelites thought Torah is only for them. Nobody else has guidance. We're the special group. Allah says, no, not this time. Qur'an is for all humanity. So now not only is the capital of this new nation different, its constitution is new, which is what? The Qur'an. And the celebration of its independence as a new nation. You know, you have this concept of an Independence Day. That's Laylatul Qadr, it's our Independence Night. And it was expanded to an entire month of celebration. So now, in every sense of the word, we were a new, distinct nation. And that's why it is in these ayat that Allah says, كَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. That is how we made you a balanced nation. There's a new nation that's just been formed. They've severed those kinds of ties from the Israelites now. Symbolically, in their worship, now they're distinct from them. And so what I wanted to first get across to all of you is that the month of Ramadan is actually a month that distinguishes us as a people. It was a statement of our new identity as an ummah. And it was a celebration of our revealed constitution, the Qur'an. Subhanallah. That's its original heritage. That's its place inside of the surah. Now that was a little bit of my introduction. What I want to share with you now, inshallah, is these 4 parts. And in these 4 parts, I want to cover basically what Allah Azza wa Jal has to say about the month of Ramadan and the institution of fasting. The first point I'd like to make to you is that the purpose of fasting is different, and the purpose of Ramadan is different. I'll say that again because it's a difficult thing to grasp. The purpose of fasting is something else, and the purpose of Ramadan is something else. And Allah decided in His book to tell us the purpose of fasting first. So we're going to think about that without thinking about Ramadan. Usually we kind of mix these things together, yeah? But we're not going to do that today. We're going to separate those two things because Allah Himself separated those two things, okay? So this is our section 1. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Those of you who believe, fasting was made mandatory upon you. كتب عليكم. It was made law binding upon you. كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم, just as it was on those who came much before you. This ayah is actually talking about the institution of fasting before Ramadan. How many days did I say? Just 3. Just 3. So you're going to fast just like they fasted. So we're starting with the common, not the different one. But interestingly, Allah used the word siyam, not sawm. He used the word siyam and not sawm. Now for Arabic students, the masdar could be sawm and it could be siyam. Sama yasumu sawman, sama yasumu siyaman. But they're not, in the precise usage of the Qur'an, they're not synonymous. They're not the same. The word sawm in the Qur'an is used for a special kind of fast that the Israelites used to observe, in which they wouldn't even speak. Inni nadhartu lirrahmani sawman. And when you say sawman, that means falan ukallima nas. Okay, falan ukallima al-yawma insiya. I'm not going to talk to any human being. Not only was it a fasting of food and drink and intimacy, it was also a fasting of speech itself. That was part of their law. For us, the fasting of speech was loosened. But the Prophet ﷺ made it spiritual advice. In other words, you'll find prophetic traditions telling you that your eyes are also fasting, your tongue is also fasting, your hands are also fasting. But that's not made part of the law. It's not like if you kind of blurted out something in anger, your fast broke. Right? So that was actually enhancing the spirit of the fast, but not the legal requirements of the fast. But for the Israelites before us, the fasting was actually much more difficult, and the term for it in the Quran is actually sawm. And then the new institution of fasting, what's the term? Siyam. So that's this term that's made specific for the month of Ramadan. But anyway, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. At least the siyam part of it is the same as what it was. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as just as it was mandated on those who came much before you. And then Allah tells us the purpose. The purpose is la'allakum tattaqun, so that all of you may develop a sense of protecting yourselves, caution, care. You can say fear, but fear is really not a good description of the word taqwa. So I'd like to take a moment to just tell you a little bit about the concept of taqwa. The word taqwa comes from the Arabic word wiqaya. The original word is waqayaki wiqayatan. And wiqaya in Arabic means to protect. Like waqina adhab an-nar, protect us from the punishment of the fire. To protect yourself, you say ittaqa yattaqi. So فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ إِن كَفَرْتُمْ يَوْمَ يَجْعَلُ الْوِلْدَانَ شِيبًا. How will you protect yourself on the day of judgment if you disbelieve? The day on which a baby's hair turns gray. The idea of protecting yourself. Okay. Now, when somebody protects themselves, like they lock the door, or they close the window, or they put the security alarm on, or whatever, they only do that because there's an actual real danger. And that's why, by association, people use the term fear. But it's actually what you do as a result of fear. That's taqwa. Taqwa is not fear itself. Somebody could be afraid and not take any precautions. They don't have taqwa. But somebody who, out of fear, locked the doors, got out of the bad neighborhood, sped up the car, whatever they did, that's an act of taqwa. You understand? So it's actually taking protective measures to secure yourself from any kind of trouble. That's actually what taqwa is. Okay? Taqwa can have a positive connotation too. It's not just protect yourself against danger, but when you take the proper precautions to not get in trouble with your dad, or with your mom, or with your spouse, or in our case, to not make Allah upset. When you protect yourself from, for example, I know that I'm going to fall asleep, so I'm going to finish my homework before I fall asleep. I'll just do it early, because I know I have time right now and I'm feeling lazy, but I know if I delay it to 7, I'm not going to do it. That's an act of taqwa. You protected yourself from your own shortcomings. You took proper precaution. And that's why you'll find even, one of the places in Qur'an, actually in Surah Al-Baqarah, when you're preparing for Hajj. When you prepare for Hajj, you have to have a lot of savings. You have to pack properly, right? And it's going to be, back in the day, a really long journey. So you really have to make sure you pack. And you're going to be in the desert. So if you don't have the right supplies, you're going to die. So Allah says, وَتَزَوَّدُوا. Pack up. فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. The best kind of provision you can have is taqwa, meaning take proper precaution. Not just taqwa of Allah, but that's a comprehensive phrase saying, look, be safe. Don't go to unsavory roads and neighborhoods. Don't talk to strangers. Make sure you defend yourself properly. That's actually within the meanings of taqwa. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because Allah has done something remarkable. Taqwa is something talked about over 200 times in the entire Qur'an. One of the if not the most repeated theme in the Qur'an is taqwa. And you've heard probably countless khutbahs before you fell asleep. You heard that it's about taqwa. Today, brothers and sisters, I'm going to talk to you about taqwa. You had plenty of those. Everybody says you have to have taqwa, you have to have taqwa, you have to have taqwa, but it's not on sale after the salah, it's outside. I don't know where to get it from. You have this concept. How am I supposed to put it in myself? I've heard that it's really important, and I better have it, right? But it's an abstract thing. That's the beauty of our religion. It takes these ideas, and then Allah will give us in His book a practical way of bringing it inside you. So it doesn't just hover as a philosophical concept, something called taqwa. I guess some people have it, I don't have it. No, Allah will actually give you training exercises that you can implement and through them get taqwa. And one of the most powerful ones of them is what? Fasting. Fasting will give you taqwa. Fasting is hope to give you. Now, if fasting was guaranteed to give you taqwa, here's what you would have read. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لِتَتَّقُوا. The lam would have been lam al-ta'lil. لِتَتَّقُوا would have meant so that you have taqwa. When you say لَعَلَّكُمْ, there's a hope that you might get it, but there's not a guarantee. There's not a guarantee. Okay? So Allah is saying this is a way to get it, but only if you do it right. It's not like anybody who's going to fast is going to get taqwa. So let's explore that concept a little bit. How does fasting lead to taqwa? The idea of being cautious of Allah, protective, secure about Allah. Very simply put. I don't want to get technical with you on this, and I'm not going to give you elaborate quotes. My intention, by the way, today is not to be academic. I'm giving this lecture as a teacher. I'm not a scholar anyway, but not as a researcher. So I'm not trying to, present you with scholarly research from this source and that source. I've done that homework, and I'm trying to present it in as easy language as I possibly can, inshallah. Okay? So now let's talk about this. When you're fasting, especially if you're fasting in an interesting hot place like Texas in the summer, right? Or in the Khalij somewhere, or in Pakistan, or wherever, or South Africa. When you're fasting, you're gonna feel thirst. And it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, or old or young, It doesn't discriminate. Thirst doesn't discriminate. Hunger doesn't discriminate. You're going to feel hunger. And that feeling inside of you is basically your body asking you to disobey Allah. Isn't it? I mean, every ounce of thirst, every second of thirst that you feel, your body is screaming, give me water. Your stomach is really almost coming up with a song on its own. You know, feed me. There's a war happening inside you. Your body is asking you to rebel against Allah. And there's something in your heart that tells your throat and your stomach to shut up. Not until Maghrib. Not until Maghrib. You're fighting yourself the entire day. Yourself the entire day. There's a newlywed couple. He's crazy about her. He just looks at her and he goes, what am I supposed to do? Not until Maghrib. I'm going to hold myself back because I'm fasting. There's the strongest of the urges, intimacy. And of course, the most basic of needs, hunger and thirst. Allah blocked them for the entirety of the day. And you and I, if we're observing our fast, we're crushing the needs and the strongest desires of our body for the entirety of a day only to make Allah happy. Only to make Allah happy. And there's a kid who's 12 years old or 10 years old, he's fasting for the first time, and he's looking at this melted piece of chocolate, and he's got a little thing of it on his, and he's just looking at it and he puts it back. Even he's got taqwa. And then you're going to do this. Every time you do this, you're developing a consciousness of Allah. Why is that exercise important? If you can do that through the entirety of a day to block yourself and deny yourself the most fundamental of your needs and the strongest of your wants. If you're capable of doing that, then Allah is asking you for a lot less outside of the fast. He's asking you to actually يُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. The only thing He wants to prevent from you are filthy things. You're going to have a much easier time dealing with other acts of obedience of Allah. It's trained you. It's beautiful. I put it this way. When, for any tough job, like a rigorous training, like a military training or police academy training, these kinds of trainings, there's a lot of tough exercise, yeah? And they go through hours and hours of regiments and trainings. And then that same guy decides to join some kind of light gym. And they have a workout routine. And he says, this is a joke. We used to do 10 times this much. Yeah? So when he's come through a much tougher training, anything less is piece of cake, effortless. That's the idea of fasting. It's so tough. So when you're done with this, what Allah is going to ask you after that is piece of cake. You're ready for it. You'll develop the consciousness of Allah, and you'll be much better able to protect yourself from disobeying Allah. Now look at the beautiful words. Ayyaman ma'dudat. Days that are very, very limited in number. The words ma'dudat with the alif and ta suggest what's called in Arabic jam'u qilla. Less than 10. How many days did I say they were? That's why we're learning that these are three. And you can call out in this audience. It's okay. The people around the world can hear you. It's fine. Inshallah. But I need to, when I ask you a rhetorical question, call it out. And those of you that are watching online, get weird and speak to the phone or the iPad or whatever you're watching on, inshallah. It's okay. So there were only 3 days of fasting, yeah? So Allah says just a limited number of days. So this is pre-Ramadan discussion. This has nothing to do with Ramadan. All Allah is describing is fasting itself. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. And whoever among you had been sick, or whoever among you had been traveling, then they can make up in other days. One way to make up for the fast, if you missed a fast because you were sick or travel, is that you can just make up another day. Yeah? That's option one. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ. And those who are capable to do so, they can actually give an expiation, meaning a compensation. You can say you can pay a fine. Okay, pay a penalty for missing a fast. So this is option number 2. I need you to remember these 2 options. The first option is you can make it up. The second option is you can pay a fine. And what's that fine? Allah will explain Himself. طَعَامُ miskin. The food of a person who can't help himself. Miskin is someone who's stuck in a situation and can't help themselves. The beauty of this phrase, often missed in translation, Allah did not say إِطْعَامُ miskin. إِطْعَامُ miskin would have been translated feeding of the poor. Feeding of the poor. But ta'am cannot be translated as feeding. It can only be translated as food. Ta'am and ta'am are worlds apart. Now when you say feeding, like feeding of the poor, then you did something out of your way. But when you say food of the poor, it actually means the food belonged to them. It was theirs to begin with. You understand? In it, there's a hint that fast or no fast, give the poor what they deserve. It's theirs to begin with. You're not going out of your way to do them a favor, right? So in any case, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. And then Allah goes on his own and says, and whoever wants to volunteer out of goodness, then it's better for them. Meaning volunteer, meaning make up the fast and give someone food. Good for them. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. And if you were to fast to begin with, in other words, not miss, it's better for you. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Some have also interpreted this, yes, you can give voluntarily to somebody, but the better of the two options is make it up. Make it up, right? So وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. If in fact you've known. Now, what we've learned thus far is this is what we had in common with the people that came before us. This is the fasting that was in common, and there was two ways of getting out of a fast that you missed. I asked you to remember both of those, making it up or the meal of a poor person, yeah? Now we get to the next section. This is now section 2. That was section 1. We'll compare it to section 2. Section 2 is Ramadan itself. The spirit of Ramadan itself. Inside of one ayah, Allah captures the whole thing. He says, Shahru Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an. The one in which the Qur'an was sent down. The month of Ramadan, now Allah has changed the subject. First of all, He's talking about an entire month, which is very different from 3 days. Second of all, He didn't start with fasting. The subject isn't fasting anymore. The thing you need to know about the month of Ramadan, what makes it important, is what? That the Qur'an was sent down in it. He changed the subject altogether. And I would argue for us as a Muslim culture around the world, that reorientation needs to happen. Our minds, consciously or subconsciously, associate Ramadan with hunger and thirst. And we more importantly associate it with fried foods at Maghrib time. Right? That's, in our minds, it's whose iftar party are we going to tomorrow? And how many are we going to hold at our place? It's just become, it's a festive thing, it's a beautiful thing, yes, but the spirit of it, the purpose of it, when Allah spoke about it, the first thing He told me and you is, this month is valuable because the Qur'an was sent down in it. الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. I would argue that for myself, this is what I'm going to do as an exercise for myself, and I try to do this every Ramadan. I actually remind myself of this statement of Allah every morning in Ramadan. This is the month in which Qur'an came down. This is the month in which the course of humanity shifted. The map of the world changed because of this one month. Billions of lives have been transformed. Families and lineages and heritages have been completely transformed because of this one month. If you think of all of humanity, all human history as one lifetime, if all of human history is one lifetime, then the month of Ramadan is not even a second. It's not even a second, but it constitutes the most important turning point in human history. That 1 second, the course of humanity changes forever. And it changes in more significant a way than has ever happened in the entire span of humanity. Subhanallah, that is the month we're experiencing. That is the month Allah Azza wa Jalla is highlighting. And I make it a point to say that because if Allah can transform the course of the future of humanity in that 1 month, how much change can He bring into my life in that 1 month? If that month has the power to transform the entire world, entire civilizations. I mean, I think about the fact that I'm Muslim, but my heritage, some of it goes back to India, some of it goes back to Afghanistan, and all of those are actually go further back enough, they're pagan traditions. They're either Buddhism or some kind of Hinduism and some kind of ism. And you know what? Those isms became Islam at one point in our lineage, in some part of our heritage, and all of that started because of this month. I have Islam today because of this month. We have the Qur'an today because of this month. Subhanallah. Like, just to remind yourself of that through the course of these 30 days. Why is it that we're celebrating Ramadan? What's so amazing about Ramadan? You know? Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an. Did you know that prophets, especially Musa alayhi salam and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam wasn't told to come to fast and then meet with Allah. Musa alayhi salam was prepared ahead of time before he received Tawrat. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to do it on his own. He just left home and he's just going up in the cave and he's just literally fasting from the joys of life. Just contemplating. It's as though in order to truly receive revelation, you have to engage in the act of fasting. To really truly receive revelation in your heart, you have to cut yourself off from some other stuff. And so Allah made this institution so we can receive revelation in this one month like no other month. What I'm arguing before you then is this is the month in which you and I have to internalize the Qur'an, and we have to experience the Qur'an descending into us like no other month. This is the month of Qur'an. Don't think of it as the month of fasting. It's not the month of fasting, it's the month of Qur'an. I love the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal used unzila. أنزل فيه القرآن شهر رمضان الذي أنزل الله القرآن فيه. Allah could have mentioned himself and said the month of Ramadan is the one in which Allah sent the Qur'an down. But he said the Qur'an was sent down. He made it passive. And when you use the passive form of a verb, you're deliberately removing the subject, the doer, from the equation. You're not mentioning Allah on purpose, as though the reader is supposed to study the Qur'an and discover Allah all over again on their own. Rediscover Allah. Unzila fil Qur'an. Qur'an was sent down. Question is raised by who? Read and you'll experience by who. You'll get to know who. I can give you a simple answer, Allah. But when you recite the ayah and you go by the end of reciting the ayah, Allah, then you'll know who. You're reintroducing yourself, subhanallah. And now he says, now the next quality of Ramadan, which this is the orientation of Ramadan, yeah? Hudal linnas. There are going to be three things that are going to be said about the Qur'an. Okay, I have to keep track of time because there's lots of stuff to talk about. But there's three things that are going to be said about the Qur'an. The first thing will be hudal linnas, guidance for humanity. The second thing that will be said is bayyinatin min al-huda, clear proofs from within guidance. Clear, self-evident proofs from within guidance. Now that sounds kind of weird. I'll explain what that means in a second. So far two things. What were they? Guidance for humanity and clear proofs from within guidance. And then wal furqan. The third is the separator, or the separation. You can say the ultimate separation. That's a good way of thinking about al-furqan. The old English word they use is criterion. I've never used that word in my life, so I don't like to use it. Because separation is, or powerful separation is what you can say, okay? Now what are these three words about? First thing to note is this is a surah revealed while most of the Qur'an has already been revealed. 2/3 of the Qur'an has already come down. The Prophet is now in Medina, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And when he's in Medina and this ayah comes down, Sahaba are familiar with the Qur'an or no?
Yes.
They're very familiar with the Qur'an. Now, are they familiar with the fact that the Qur'an is guidance for humanity?
Yes.
They're extremely familiar with that. This is not some new information. Okay. Are they familiar that it has proofs of itself within the guidance? They are. Are they familiar with the fact that the Qur'an is the ultimate separation between right and wrong? What I'm trying to get at then is as though this ayah is introducing us to three things about the Qur'an, but for anyone who's been with the Prophet ﷺ for years and years and years, none of this is new, is it? Why is he mentioning it then? It's as though he's giving us an orientation or an introduction to the Qur'an, but why would you give an introduction all the way like 13 years in, 14 years in? You know why? Because now you're learning a timeless lesson about the month of Ramadan. Every Ramadan, I will come to the Qur'an like I just got introduced to it. I will make no assumptions about the Qur'an. When I study a surah, I will never be able to say, I already know it. I already did it. It's going to hit, every ayah will hit you like it's never hit you before. Don't underestimate the book of Allah. Not in terms of its guidance, not in terms of its huda, not in terms of its bayinat, not in terms of it being furqan. Because it will manifest itself to you, it'll open itself to you anew every single time. Man, have I learned that lesson. You know, I was just sharing today with students, وَدَرَسُوا مَا فِيهِ. وَدَرَسُوا مَا فِيهِ. Allah complained, why didn't they study what is in it? Instead of saying, why didn't they study it? Why not say I study? If you say I studied a book, you know what that means? I'm done with it. I already studied it. When you say I've studied something in it, then there's more left. There's always going to be more left when you study Qur'an. You'll never be able to say, I already know Fatiha. I already know Baqarah. I already know Al-Imran. You're not going to be able to say it. Because there are treasures therein that you just haven't even begun to touch. You haven't even, that's why Allah gave the analogy of the Qur'an like an ocean. When you jump into an ocean and you come out, you're drenched. Yes? you can't possibly say, I experienced the entire ocean. All you experienced were the drops that were touching your body. Those were the only drops you were able to experience. You can dive deeper and deeper and deeper, you might experience some more drops. But for someone to dive in and then come out and say, I've experienced the entire ocean, you're a fool to think that. And to think that when I dive in again, it's the same exact drops that are going to touch me. They're not. قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي. If the oceans were turned into ink for the words of my master. The parable of an ocean and the Qur'an is incredible. I will dive into the Qur'an my entire life, and all I will have is drops. That's all I will have is droplets. That's it. And that's all I'm capable of. So now, going back to these three things, I'll say some comments about each of them. Hudal linnas. It's a guidance for all people. Two things to note here. The first of them is the idea of guidance. Guidance is something that you and I need when we're in trouble, when we're unsure about something, when we're going through a difficult time, a challenge in our life. I'm not sure which college to go to, who to marry, what to name my kid, where to move, how to solve this problem, how to end this conflict. That's when you and I need guidance. And when we get into trouble, we go to people we trust and we talk to them. Either you go to an expert, and get legal advice or financial advice or medical advice. That's the kind of guidance you get. Or you just need to talk to somebody about your problems and they just need to tell you, relax, it's going to be okay. That's not expert advice. That's just chill out, calm down. And you just needed to hear that and you're like, oh, thanks for saying that. It really helped me a lot. Isn't it? The Qur'an will be both of those things. Expert guidance on the most complicated of issues and personal counsel. Personal counsel. You and I will go through challenges in life and we're going to open up Allah's book, seeking Allah's counsel, and He's going to give it in ways that you and I have never experienced. And that is going to be your personal miracle with the Qur'an, that you cannot prove to anybody else. There are going to be moments in your life where nobody knows what to tell you. You can't find answers anywhere else. You open Allah's book and you start reading, and it's like this ayah just came for you. This surah just came for you. And you're like, how did He know? How did He? And you can't even, nobody will be able to, you can't prove this to anyone, and you can't make anyone else see what you just saw. That's hudal linnas. That personal relationship with Allah through His own words. But then I'm also fascinated by the phrase an-nas, hudal linnas. This is a month in which we engage in more worship than any other month. That's our culture. We spend more time in the masjid than any other month. We recite more Qur'an than any other month, right? We do more dhikr than any other month. We make more dua than any other month. But do we talk to more non-Muslims this month than any other month? Are we concerned about the rest of humanity this month than any other month? We become actually more introverted in this month than any other month. And this is the month in which Allah said this is meant as a guidance for an-nas. An-nas. I told you this entire religion is the religion of which figure? Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam built that Kaaba, he called it mathabatan linnas. فَجَعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. He was hoping all humanity would one day turn towards this house. This ummah is the legacy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the fulfillment of the mission of Ibrahim alayhi salam. We, more than anyone else, is supposed to be concerned with all of humanity. Was our messenger concerned with all of humanity, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why was he concerned with all of humanity? Because of these words that Allah gave him. And He gave them these words in Ramadan. So we have to relive the mission of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the month of Ramadan. We have to relive that mission in the month. This word has to be shared with all of humanity. More this month than any other month. Look at the opportunity Allah has given humanity. Shayateen are chained. So the same people who hate Islam and shaitan constantly whispers to them, that shaitan is not giving them the extra fire. It's a time for even them to calm down and you to be able to share a word of Allah with them. Hudal linnas. Man, it's, if you think about what happened, there's not enough time, guys. If you just think about what happened in that time when the Qur'an came down, if you just study what was happening in the heavens, the arrangements made for the Qur'an to come down. And there's a reason shayateen are chained, by the way, in this month. There's a reason for that. What were the arrangements made for the Qur'an to come down? In Surah Al-Jinn, the jinn were confused. They had no idea what's going on.
They're like, we used to hang out up in the stars. It says access denied, security. We try to go to our old hangout parking lots in the galaxies somewhere, and we get meteors shot towards us. And we're like, what is happening? There's a complete lockdown of the skies. So all the jinn were stuck on the earth because they couldn't go hang out in the skies. Why are all the skies locked down and the only access is left on the earth? What is about to happen to the earth? Is there some giant thing pointing towards the earth? And we have no idea. So they said, وَنَحْنُ لَا نَدْرِي أَشَرٌّ أُرِيدَ بِمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَمْ أَرَادَ بِهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ رَشَدًا. We had no idea if some horrible thing is about to go down. They were actually not sure what's happening. And then they heard the Qur'an and they said, oh, that's why the skies are locked down. That's why the skies are, like they realized this Qur'an like locked down the 7 skies so it could descend. That's the month we're experiencing. And you're thinking that this is, if there was one time to give the word of Allah to humanity, man, this is it. This is it. How we pass by this month not realizing what it is remarkable. To me, it's just, that's a tragedy by itself. You know? That's hudal linnas. The second thing was, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى. Listen to this part carefully, it's very important. Musa alayhi salam, what was his miracle? So many. The staff, the hand, right? The water parting. There's so many incredible miracles. Isa alayhi salam, what are some of his miracles? The blind, curing the blind by Allah's permission, the bird, the clay bird turning into a living bird, speaking as a baby. So many miracles, yeah? I want you to imagine that you are one of the people with Musa alayhi salam as he's parting the water. Your mouth is open, your eyes are wide. And you're going through it, staring at Tawd al-Azim on both sides, and you get to the other side, and you have like, you're just, everybody's looking at everybody else like, what just happened here? And then you saw Fir'aun, you're just speechless. A few years later, you get married, you have a child, the child is 6, 7, 8 years old, you sit your kid down, and you're gonna tell him an amazing story. You know what I saw, son? We were standing right there, and this happened, and this kid's like, whoa, isn't he? But that same kid, when he turns 16, come here, son, let me tell you a story. Is that the same water story again? God. Within one generation, something that you saw with your own eyes that completely changed your appreciation of God and your awe of His Messenger, alayhi salam. For that next generation, what is it? It's a story. It's not a miracle for them. It's a story for them. They can't experience it like you did. لَيْسَ الْخَبَرْ كَالْمُعَايَنَةِ. The news is not like eyewitness account. You can't compare those two things. And as the generations go by, it's just a story, a story, a story, and actually an old story. We believe in those same stories, but we didn't see it. We didn't. We believe in it. But we're not in awe of the water parting. You can recite, إِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ, and He parted the water. Cool. Move on. But if you and I lived in that time, and we recited إِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ, we might even fall into sajda without even helping ourselves. We just fall. Isn't that true? All the miracles that Allah gave to prophets were miracles for eyes. They were miracles for eyes. And you can only have one set of eyes. You cannot pass your eyes down to the next generation. The next time around, it is a message passed down for the ears. The first generation experienced it with their eyes, but the next generation with their ears. Now the thing is, let's go back. For Musa, for Isa alayhim salam, they were given two things. They were given a message for the ears, and they were given a miracle for the eyes. I'll say that again. Prophets were given a message for the ears, and they were given a miracle for the eyes. Is that clear to everybody? Then comes the final messenger. And this final messenger is the last. There's no more messengers coming. And if he's only given a message, by the way, what's the point of a miracle? It firms your faith. Like you have no doubts left. If you were skeptical about Musa, ain't no way you're skeptical once the water parts. You see what I'm saying? Like you may be like you're in the 80th row when the staff turned into a snake. You're like, what just happened? Everybody's saying there's something epic going on. Oh, you didn't see it? Oh, I missed it. But there's no way you're missing the water parting. There's no way you're missing a cloud following you guys around. There's no way you're missing those. But the next generation missed it. All they get is a message and a story about the miracle. Allah sends His final messenger with the Qur'an, and He decides that this Qur'an will be both the guidance, the message, and it will also be the miracle, so that it can be passed down with the same, if not even more effect, every single generation, because the message for the ears can be passed down. So it's hudan linnas, but it's also bayyinatin min al-huda. Clear, self-evident proofs from within guidance. Is that clear? So it's the message and the miracle now. Subhanallah. That's what Allah gave in this revelation. This is unlike any other revelation before it. Unlike any other revelation before it. Now if you appreciate that, we get to another realization. Do you have to be an expert to be able to stand next to Musa alayhi salam or Isa alayhi salam and see a clay bird, a dirt bird, turn into a living bird and say, well, I'm not sure if that's really... You'd be like, that was incredible. What just happened here? You didn't even have to be Muslim to appreciate the miraculous power of what just happened. Isn't it? What I'm saying is appreciating a miracle is effortless. Appreciating a miracle is effortless. Allah changed that part of the equation. This time Allah says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Why don't they reflect deeply on the Qur'an? Because if it was from someone other than Allah, they would have found contradiction. Until you reflect, you will not find miracle. Until you think about it, it won't manifest itself to you. It ain't coming for free. You can't just watch from a distance water parting. You're going to have to apply yourself. It's not just going to manifest itself to you. It's not cheap now. It comes with an effort. It comes with an effort. When the eyes see something, they can appreciate the beauty of it right away. But when the ears hear something, unless you pay attention, you can't really tell if it was amazing. You understand that, right? You know, think about a movie. Some crazy scene. You can even watch it on mute like you do when somebody else is watching a movie on the plane. You can't hear any dialogue, but you're just like, whoa, it blew up and this happened and that happened. But now imagine that same person is watching not an action film, but some drama, and they're laughing, laughing, laughing. Can you appreciate it? No, because it requires you to pay attention, to be able to hear and really get it. Yeah? Allah Azza wa Jal made it a condition. So now, for you and me, the bayinat, the clear proofs of the Qur'an are going to keep manifesting themselves. Not only will we get guidance from this, we'll get wonder out of this. We're going to be bewildered by how incredible it is. And it just won't come to an end. It won't come to an end. And the more we will discover, we'll share with our next generation. And they'll know the miracles we discovered, and based on them, they'll do their own digging, and they'll discover even more that the previous generation didn't discover. SubhanAllah. The miraculous nature of the Qur'an will keep unfolding itself more and more and more. Not less and less, more and more. And there's a repository already there of so many things that people have discovered, and it's only going to keep building on. All things are going to be found and then found again and found again. And then finally Allah says, wal furqan, and the ultimate separation. What more do you need to separate right from wrong? You have guidance and you have a miracle. And thus it is the furqan. Now you have no excuse to live life in the right way. You have all the reason to be convinced. You have all the best guidance that touches your heart. All of those things are there. This is an orientation of Allah, of the Qur'an in this month. And then He says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ. I love this phrasing. Whoever of you gets to witness the month. To witness the month. Witnessing is done with the eyes. Witnessing is done of miracles. And when witnessing is, in the Qur'an, when you witness something amazing, it humbles you before God, and in many places you fall in sajda. When you witness something amazing. When you witness this month, you should be humbled before Allah and fast. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. Whoever gets to witness the month. This is a miracle we're going to witness. Ramadan itself is a miracle that we get to witness. Then we should fast. Then you should fast. In awe of what they're witnessing. It's like they should forget to eat and drink. So they should forget the most important things in life for a month. Because they're just in awe of what's going on. You know? فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. You know, in a sense, it's like praying. When you're praying, you're in awe of Allah, and you leave food and drink and intimacy behind. You leave everything behind. You're just in awe of Allah. Now it's an entire day of just being in awe of Allah. And then now, as I move forward, وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ. Now is this familiar? Whoever was sick or traveling. That was mentioned before too? Which context was it mentioned in?
3 days. 3 days.
Good. Was that before or after Ramadan?
Before.
That was before Ramadan. Okay, now check this out. If it was before Ramadan, you had two options. Do you remember those options?
Yes.
What were they? Make it up, or the food of a poor person. Yeah. Watch this. فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. You should make it up in other days. Option 1. What's option 2? No more. Sorry, no option 2. Option 2 is taken away. This is very important, because Allah says about the previous law, the law given to Moses, to Musa alayhi salam, وَيَضَعُ عَنْهُمْ إِسْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ, to remove from them their burdens and the chains and the fetters that they had put on themselves and that they had on them. The law of Musa alayhi salam was much harder. Was fasting harder for them, by the way? It included food, drink, no intimacy, and what else?
Speech.
And speech. Our fasting is what? Easier. It's easier. Everything Allah did for this deen was easier than what He did for the previous one. That's why He says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ. Allah wants to make your burden easier. To make your burden easier. This is one of the goals of this deen, was to actually make the Torah, law of Torah lighter. But when it came to this, you break a fast, or you didn't get to fast, you have 2 ways out. But now in month of Ramadan, first of all, you should fast 3 days? No, not 3 consecutive days. You need to fast 30. This is 10 times harder now. And on top of being 10 times harder, if you do miss one, just feed a poor person? No, you better make it up. Has this gotten harder? In 2 ways it's gotten harder. Is that clear to everybody? The fasting, the institution of fasting, instead of getting easier, it got harder. Unlike every other institution in the religion, which from the law of Musa alayhi salam to the law of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam got what? Easier. So it's going in the opposite direction. Is that obvious to everybody? If it's obvious, then you'll appreciate the next words. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. Allah wants ease for you. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. And He doesn't want difficulty for you. Whoa, what? You just made things harder, and then you said, by the way, I want things easy for you. You know why? Because I translated it incorrectly on purpose. Allah didn't say, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ لَكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. Allah wants ease for you. He doesn't want difficulty for you. He didn't say that. That's what we say in translation. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمْ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمْ الْعُسْرِ. The ba actually means because of you. Allah wants ease on this earth because of you. Allah doesn't want difficulty because of you. You people are supposed to deliver the message of humanity that will bring about ease for all of humanity. That is a massive, massive task. And for that task, you must be properly trained. And to train you, you must go through more rigorous a training and internalize this revelation, and 3 days just won't cut it. You must internalize this Qur'an and bring ease to all of humanity and remove difficulty from all of humanity. Remember the words of the Prophet ﷺ when he sends his students, his ambassadors to other tribes. Yassira wala tu'assira. Go make ease. Don't go make difficulty. Allah says He wants to make ease through you. He doesn't want to make difficulty through you. The job of this ummah is to deliver this ease to all of humanity. And that needs training. And that training is Ramadan. It is so powerful. And it's so forgotten. It's so forgotten. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. Now, you know, this training, the more difficult your job, the tougher your training. And when you have a tough job, there's no absences allowed. And if you have an absence, you better make it up. You better make it up, isn't it? And when you won't get your certificate until you what? You finish. Allah says, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, so that you may complete the count. You must finish the entire certification. You must finish the whole thing. And when you finish, you should have a graduation ceremony. And when you have a graduation ceremony, you have a chant, you have claps. What do the Muslims have? When we celebrate, when we finish our training of Ramadan, what graduation do we have? The Eid ceremony is our graduation ceremony. And so Allah says, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. So you may declare the greatness of Allah based on how He guided you. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. By the way, those words, man, they rattle me. This entire month of Quran, and then you're reciting Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Do you know which messenger used the word Akbar? Hada Rabbi, Hada Akbar? Ibrahim alayhi salam. And you know what happened when the Prophet ﷺ conquered Mecca? They were shattering the idols and they were saying Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. It is actually the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam culminated in Eid. It's so beautiful. But then there's something else. There's always something else. What is takbir? Takbir means to declare greatness. Allah is saying, now that you've completed your training, and across this training, your stomach was asghar, and Allah was akbar. Your throat was asghar, Allah was akbar. Your desire was asghar, Allah was akbar. You did this for the entire month. Everything you wanted was lesser, smaller, Allah was greater, wasn't He? For the entire 30 days. Now that you've finished the count, now you're ready to declare Allah greater in everything else you do. Now, based on Allah's guidance, live the rest of your life. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And then when you live the rest of your life, will you have difficulty or ease in the rest of your life as a result? You will have ease. And when you go out of difficulty into ease, you become grateful. The ayah ends, وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So you can be grateful. You can be grateful that you went through this training and it brought ease into your life, and you will bring ease into other people's lives because of yourself. SubhanAllah. You know the iman inside the heart of a believer is described like a lamp. You know that, right? In Surah An-Nur. The iman inside the heart of a believer is described like a lamp. You know, a lamp its purpose is to light its surroundings. A lamp doesn't just light the inside of the shade. The purpose of the light is to illuminate its surroundings. That's yuridu bikumul yusr. Yuridullahu bikumul yusr. Now you're ready to light up your surroundings. You're inspired by the word of Allah yourself, and the people around you will see its effect. They'll feel its heat. You know? This is وَلَعَلَّكُمْ. And so you'll become grateful. And by the way, what greater thing to be grateful for than a celebration of the Quran? وَخَيْرٌ مِمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. It's better than everything they gather. Better than everything they gather. Before I go on to the next section, which is our section 3, I do want to share something. Maybe it's controversial. I don't know. I don't care. But it must be said. The purpose of Ramadan is to reconnect the believer to the Book of Allah like they're starting over. And the reason that's important is because the believer is supposed to reconnect humanity with the Book of Allah. The way we do that in Ramadan, the way the first generation did that in Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ institutionalized additional prayers. Umar bin al-Khattab saw that people might lose out on that, so he made it into congregational, what we call the Taraweeh prayer. Yeah? And it became an institution in this ummah. Now that institution, if you imagine the Sahaba, every time they stood in prayer and they heard Baqarah, Ali Imran, Nisa being recited, they heard the message and they understood the message. They appreciated the miracle, all in the salah. All in the salah. You know, sometimes you hear a powerful lecture. For them, standing in the salah is hearing a lecture from Allah. That's what it was. They were listening to a khutbah, a maw'idha from Allah when they're standing in prayer. Yes? And that was the institution. It was supposed to reconnect us with Allah Azza wa Jal in the most beautiful of ways. Okay. A few centuries later, fast forward to, now 2016. We also have the Taraweeh prayer. Is there a difference between the way we conduct our prayers today and the spirit of those prayers of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu? There's a fundamental difference. The vast majority of you and me that are standing behind the Imam, as he's reciting the word of Allah, are not hanging over every word, lost and mesmerized in reflection. Rather, we are wondering, was that the first or the second? Are we on 14 or on 15? When is the ruku' coming? If the Imam takes so much as a long breath, you're like, and then he goes on to the next time, like, oh, okay. You know, some of my friends that lead Taraweeh, they're on purpose, when they get to Ayatul Kursi, they take a pause. Allahu La ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum. And everybody's like, oh yeah, oh God. I thought it was Allahu Akbar. You know, what I'm trying to get at, besides the joke, is there's a tragedy in the ummah. This month was supposed to genuinely reconnect us with the guidance and the appreciation and the awe of the Qur'an, so it can separate right and wrong for us again. But today, our relationship with the Qur'an has been reduced to an artificial one, where we stand in prayer and the vast majority of us don't know what's being recited. We run after the best reciter and stand behind them and wonder why the person next to us is crying. And some people are crying because they don't understand. And that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing by itself. But then there are just a few that understand and they're moved. Sometimes the Imam himself is moved. And then we're completely okay with the culture that even the one leading us in prayer has no idea what they're reciting. And we're okay with that. We're okay with that. We've accepted that as a tradition. Yeah? Is there something wrong with this? You see some problem? We have violated the spirit of Ramadan so badly on every account. On every account. And then on top of that, if you didn't finish the recitation of the entire Qur'an, that's why we got to speed it up in the last few days. And there's complaints about this reciter is reciting too slowly. Who cares about finishing the Qur'an in Ramadan? We're in a state of emergency right now. If you just, what I'm going to do at our, inshallah, at the new campus, and what's going to be in the, the Ramadan program for all of Surah Al-Baqarah, inshallah ta'ala, we're just going to recite Surah Al-Baqarah, the entire Taraweeh. I'm going to give a 35, 40-minute, hour-long dars, and we're going to have Taraweeh, and we're only going to recite what we heard explained. I'd rather we pray less, but pray with attention and pray with awe. Pray with understanding. Get some guidance for it. Reflect. That's what the spirit of this prayer was supposed to be. We have to compensate in some way. I can't expect everybody to learn Arabic overnight. So we have to make it up somehow. We talk about one legacy of Umar radiallahu anhu where he encouraged the Taraweeh prayer. We don't talk about the other legacy where he makes sure halaqat of Qur'an were going on. Look at the whole picture. So this is the spirit of Ramadan is lost if you didn't come out of Ramadan knowing more Qur'an than you did before, being in love with more Qur'an than you were before. Don't reduce it to something less. This is part of the fundamental goals and spirit of this month. So this was my second section. My third section is actually about the spiritual power of the fruit of our labor, really, in Ramadan. And this is probably my favorite section. The next section is rather controversial. And it's also PG-17. So for those of you in the audience, if you have children, that last section, the fourth section, kick them out of the room. Because we have other things. It's Qur'an, I'll have to talk about it, but it's not appropriate for children younger than 16 at least, inshallah. But anyway, this section's fine. When we recite the Qur'an, who's speaking? Allah is speaking. But when you want to have a conversation, you have to have two parties speak. A conversation is one in which one party speaks and the other party speaks, yeah? This ayah, the next ayah we're about to read, is the ayah of dua. And this is one of the most beautiful ayat in the entire Qur'an about the concept of talking to Allah, calling upon Allah, speaking with Allah. Notice the sequence. First you recite where Allah speaks to you. Ramadan is about refreshing how Allah speaks to you. But a conversation is not complete until you speak to Allah. So now this is going to complete the conversation. And this is actually something so beautifully consistent in the Qur'an. This exact order is found multiple times in the Qur'an, beginning with the Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Allah speaks. Our turn. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-sirata. That's when we speak. You see that? The same thing's going to happen here. Now it's time for us to speak with Allah. We're learning in these ayat, Ramadan is the best time to make dua. But you have to have the proper etiquette. You let Allah speak first. And you listen carefully first. And then you ask. Has it ever happened that you were going to go walk in and ask for something from your parents? And your mother said, wait, let me tell you something first. And she speaks to you for 5 minutes. And then what you were going to ask completely changed. And you decided not to even ask. Or you started wondering what should I ask for now? Has that happened? And you know, when you go to someone that you're going to ask, and they say, I want to talk to you first, it is totally disrespectful and disregarding of their status that you say, no, I just want to ask you first. I don't want to hear anything from you first. You want to ask Allah, I want to ask Allah, we want to ask Him all the time. Can you hear Him out first? Can you just hear what He has to say first before you ask? Maybe what He has to say is better than what you were going to ask. And even if it's not, you in your mind, not better, which it is, doesn't He deserve that He should be heard first before you're heard? The order, the principle of dua, let Allah speak to you, and then you're in a position to speak to Allah. So powerful. People are really into dua. People are really wanting to get Allah to hear them, but they're not into hearing Allah themselves. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my slaves ask you about me, then I am near. This is a beautiful ayah. I'm going to go piece by piece in this ayah. I will be probably 20 minutes over my time. So I'm going to go till 7:50. Guys, is that okay? My live cast, guys? Are we okay with that? Yeah? Okay. All right. Yeah, because I want to do justice to this as much as I can. I'll start with an analogy, folks. I've talked about this before, but it doesn't matter. A mother sends her son off in the military. He's been shipped somewhere. He's going to come back in a few months. She says, when my son comes back, I'm going to make his favorite cake. Or does she say, if my son comes back, I'll make his favorite cake? She's definitely not going to say if. You don't say if when you have that much love and that much hope. She's actually not willing to accept the possibility that he might be killed. She will always say what? When. Her intense love keeps her from saying what word? Listen to the words. إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي. When my slaves ask you about me. They haven't even asked yet. But Allah, in His intense love for all of His slaves, refuses to give up on them or even entertain the possibility that they won't be asking. There are people who haven't asked about Allah for a long time. And even on those, so long as they have breath in their lungs, Allah has not given hope up on them. We give up hope in Allah. Allah doesn't give up hope in us. إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي. Notice the word sa'ala is madi. If it was إِذَا يَسْأَلُكَ, it would have been mustamir, which means it would have been, they keep asking you about me. But even if they were to ask you once, Allah is talking about a kind of person or the kinds of people who ask about Allah, but once in a lifetime. Something happened in their life and they decided to walk into a masjid in Ramadan and ask about Allah. You know? And when they ask, Allah didn't say what they ask. They ask about me. A drunk guy walks into the masjid. Why is God doing this to me? Does that it's happened. I've seen it actually happen before. You know? Somebody walks and asks about Allah when a family member dies, when a business fails, when they get diagnosed with a terminal disease, when they get impaired. They come and ask about Allah. Allah didn't restrict the question. People can ask good things about Allah. People can ask bad things about Allah. But they're coming and asking, in this case, to the Prophet ﷺ. And it's so beautiful that the first answer to all of the questions. I mean, different questions should have different answers. But it doesn't matter what you asked about Allah. The one thing that will probably answer all of your questions is فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. I am definitely near. Without a doubt, I am close. Allah's closeness became the primary response to anyone who asks about Him. His closeness. SubhanAllah, it's so beautiful. You know, at this occasion, it should be shared with you that through the Qur'an, we become closer to Allah. I'll say that again. Through the Qur'an, we become closer to Allah. And through dua, Allah becomes closer to us. Both parties are coming closer to each other. Okay? When we're reciting the Qur'an, Allah is speaking to us. When someone's speaking to you, you draw your attention towards them. Whoever is speaking, you're drawn towards them. When Allah is speaking in the Qur'an, we're drawn towards Him. When we're making dua, Allah is drawn towards us. SubhanAllah. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Then I'm near. There's another thing here. There's always another thing. The Prophet ﷺ is asked, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, when my slaves ask you. He didn't just say, when they ask. When they ask, you. And who's that you referring to primarily? Rasulullah ﷺ, and by extension, any Rasul of the Rasul of Allah. Anyone who learns and teaches the message of Allah's messenger. So some people will go to them. People will go to an imam. People will go to a student of deen and go ask them about Allah. Yeah. But first understand, it goes back to the Prophet primarily, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the rest of us as representatives of his message, in whatever capacity. Now understand that. When you ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about Allah, Allah is so happy that you consulted his messenger that as a result he becomes near. I'll say that again. The fact that you considered consulting his messenger brought him near. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, practically, what does that mean for you and me? The Prophet ﷺ told us what to ask Allah when you walk into your home, when you walk out of your home. He told you what to ask Allah when you're going to eat and when you're going to finish eating, when you're going to wear your clothes, when you're going to ride your car, when you're going to get married, when you're going to see your wife for the first time, when you're going to have a child, when you're going to have a aqiqah, when you're going to have a... There's not an occasion in life where he didn't tell you what to ask Allah. He told you all the things you can ask Allah for in your entire life. If you don't know all those du'as, there's such a thing as stick-it notes. Get them. Put them on your fridge. Put them on the banana. Put them in your dashboard. Put them everywhere. Ask. Because why am I telling you that? Because if you want to guarantee Allah's closeness to you, then you go through the Prophet ﷺ. إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Then there's the most beautiful part of all of this phrase. And that is that, who did they ask? They asked the Prophet. If they asked him, he should give the answer. He should give the answer. So the ayah would go, إِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَقُلْ لَهُمْ إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. If they ask you, tell them I am near. Allah removed the phrase tell them. It is as though they came and asked you about me. He removed the Prophet from the equation. I'll talk to you myself. Allah is so happy that you even asked about him. He's not ready to talk to his messenger about you. He's immediately ready to talk to you. And actually you were so scared you weren't even going to talk to him. You'd rather talk to the Prophet because you're too embarrassed to talk to Allah. But Allah broke the ice and came talk to you directly and said, I am close. You can talk to me directly. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. And then he says, أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ. I immediately respond and wholly respond to the single call, da'wata with the ta marbuta, that's called the masdar marra, the single call of the one who called. This phrase is so powerful. By the way, by using the word da'wata, Allah is saying this is not even a person who makes thousands of du'as. This is someone who's so far gone, they only made this one du'a, this one time. Da'wata. Why is this person's du'a so special? Some people come to me and say, brother, make du'a for my children. And make du'a for my mother, because you're so much closer to Allah. Where am I closer to Allah? Am I like on a higher floor? I'm closer to Allah. What do you mean? I'm closer to Allah. I don't understand. Well, Allah's not going to listen to my du'a. I'm a bad person. Really? Let me tell you what qualifications you must have for your du'a to be answered immediately. If somebody asks, what do I do for my du'a to get answered immediately? All you have to be is, here's the word, adda', the one who calls. You just have to be someone who calls. Allah didn't say you have to be mukhlis or muttaqi or you have to be righteous or a hafiz or a haji or a alim or... All you have to do is be someone who asks. That's it. The guy who called, that very one time he called is good enough for Allah. And he will respond to that one when? Ujibu. This is actually mubasharatan, immediately. Immediately. I want you to understand how human beings work differently, and وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. I have different students. I have different relationships, family members. There's a family member who always cares about me, asks about me, deals with me all the time. When they ask me something, I'm ready to do it for them immediately because I have a constant relationship with them. Then there's a person who clearly doesn't care about me, doesn't concern themselves with me, has dismissed me on many occasions. They've looked straight at me and not even said salam, and now they call me. Am I inclined to call them back right away? Am I not allowed to say, where were you all these years? Now you want me to call you right back right away? I'll take my time. I called them so many times they didn't listen. Why should I call them back immediately? Isn't that our attitude? Allah doesn't have a right to say, where were you the last 18 years? You want me to answer your dua right away? Where were you last Ramadan? This Ramadan you wake up? He doesn't have the right to do that? But he says, Ujibu da'wat ad-da'. I'll call whoever calls. The one who calls. Then the power of this, subhanAllah, like even in the small audience. There's thousands of people online, but even in the small audience that's in front of me, if each of you took 5 minutes of my time, and there's 20 of you, there'll be 100 minutes. That's a long time. And even then you'll say, I only got 5 minutes. And I guarantee you I won't remember all your names. There's no way. If you have an employer that's got 1,000 employees, he's not going to know all the names. He's not. And even if all the employees send the CEO an email, he's not going to respond. He's going to have his secretary and the secretaries respond. Because he can't handle all that load. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't say, I'll respond to the call of some caller. He said, Adda. He knows each one of them particularly. They're special to him. They're special to him. They're not an unknown to him. You know? No one is higher than Allah. And no one's lower than you and me. And yet Allah acknowledges each one of us and our requests immediately. And then He says, إِذَا دَعَانْ. That part just blows me away. إِذَا دَعَانْ. Whenever they call. Whenever He calls me. The more important someone is, the harder it is to get their time. Can I have an appointment with you? Yeah, next month. For how long? 5 minutes. Okay, I'll give you 6. You know? Oh, I'd like to talk to the president. Good luck with that. I had to take my child to a specialist one time. It was booked for 6 months. Getting him on the phone took 2 weeks. The appointment came for 6 months later. And if you're 15 minutes late to the appointment, good luck, another year. You better show up on their time. They don't operate on your time. You operate on their time. The more important someone is, the more you have to be on their schedule. And Allah turns to you and me, and the one who hasn't even asked Allah ever, has ignored Him his entire existence, and says, I'm going to answer you immediately whenever you call. People ask, what's the best time to make dua? Allah says, whenever you call. إِذَا دَعَانْ. And then He says, okay, I'm going to do this for you. What do you have to do for me? فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Then they should try to respond to me too. It's so beautiful that He didn't say فَلْيُجِيبُوا لِي. Then they should respond to me immediately as well. Ijaba would have been immediate. Istijaba, to try to respond, to progressively respond, to put an effort in responding, to want to respond. Istif'al also has talab in it, desire in it. Do they even want to respond to me? Do I even see a want in them, some effort in them? You know, this is the unique thing about Allah. Nobody else can appreciate effort. Everybody else can only appreciate results. Only Allah can appreciate effort. You know, the kid who comes last in the race, we say, thanks for trying. We're just saying that so he doesn't cry. We're not really. It's the effort that matters. Yeah, but if it's the effort that mattered, why does he get a medal? Why didn't I get why I got a participation award? You know? If you failed your exam, nobody else is going to care that at least you made the effort. You know? If you're from Pakistan, I'll show you effort. You failed. Try making that case, you know. But with Allah Azza wa Jal, somebody hasn't become perfect yet. Somebody's trying. They're trying to wake up for Fajr. They're trying to leave sin behind. They're trying to move into a halal lifestyle. Nobody else sees change in them, but Allah sees what? Them trying. So don't say, well, since I don't see results, it's not even worth trying. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Because Allah is not interested in results. Allah is interested in seeing how much you want and how much you try. And nobody knows that except Allah. You can't even lie to yourself about that. I tried. You know when you didn't try. You know what? That's what we do now. A new lie to ourselves is when you don't do something, I tried. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You can lie to yourself. You can't lie to Him. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي. And they should believe in me. They shouldn't lose faith in me. I'll still be here. I'll still answer them. Don't give up. People will give up on you, but I won't. You know, people won't believe in you. I'll believe in you and you believe in me. وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So they may be set straight. Now, subhanAllah, as I conclude this, the conversation between you and Allah is complete. Allah's part of the conversation was Qur'an. Your part of the conversation is what? Is dua. And when that conversation is complete, Allah says, hopefully you'll be set straight. This is the way to set our lives straight. Between the word of Allah and the prayers to Allah. That'll set our lives straight. May Allah make us of those who find that straightness in our lives in this month. And by the way, Rashad in Arabic, from Yarshudun, Rashad is when a course, like it goes straight and it deviates. Like you didn't realize that you went off course.
And when you come back, this is Sabil al-Rashad. Like you want a path, you found a way back to get back on the straight road. That's actually called Rashad. So to avoid the deviation off course is actually Rashad. And so figuratively, it's used for reform. So now I come to the second last section, my goodness, of this discussion. And this is rated, it's an adult conversation, but an important one to have. I believe that, first of all, Allah Azza wa Jalla, everything He reveals to us for purpose. And like so many things that I try to share with you that I feel are buried about the spirit of Ramadan, this is one of those things that I feel is violated about the month of Ramadan, but it is adult in nature. It's about the relationship between a husband and a wife in the course of Ramadan and the way that Allah spoke about it. I think the rules everybody knows. A husband and wife are not supposed to have intimacy during the fasting, and they may do so after the fasting is done, before Fajr, right? But then it's not just what, it's the how. How did Allah speak about it? That's absolutely fascinating to me. So I wanted to share some of those things with you. أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. Ar-rafath, which I won't translate yet, has been made permissible for all of you in the night of the fast. Laylata is the night. That is to suggest, treat every night like it's the only night you have. Otherwise it would have been layali as-siyam, nights of the fast. But it's laylata as-siyam, that every single night of the fast. Okay? That's the first thing. The Arabic language and the Quran in particular uses several words to describe the intimacy between a husband and a wife. The romantic relationship and the intimate relationship between the husband and the wife. Allah uses many, many words. He avoids the explicit language though. There's never any explicit language in the Quran, but there is imagery and physical and romantic language in the Quran, certainly. Okay, and many words are used, like la taqrabuhunna, don't go close to them. Closeness is mentioned. La masa is used, to touch one another is used. You know, bashiruhunna, we're going to see here. I'll explain what that means later on, inshallah ta'ala. Right? But the word here uses ar-rafath. Ar-rafath. And al-rafath is al-jima'u wa ghayruhu mimma yakun bayna ar-rajul wal mar'a. It's all the way the act itself and everything before it that can happen between a man and a woman. The entire spectrum of a romantic relationship between a man and a woman is captured with the word rafath. Okay? Allah says the night of the fast, that romantic relationship, and then He used the word ila, which is never used with rafath. It's used ma'a. Rafatha ma'aha. And rafatha biha. It's never. Rafatha ilayha. It's never ar-rafath ilayha. The word ila suggests, and that's what's been said, is idhanan wa ish'aran, to make you feel like you have to head back towards her. Like you finish praying, and then you have to make sure that you have an intimate relationship and a romantic relationship with your wife in the nights of the fast. We've made the Ramadan a tradition where we're at the masjid until 2 a.m. And what's happened in many of the Muslim countries of the world is, because it's Ramadan, which means we don't do anything, we're gonna hibernate from Fajr until Maghrib, wake up for 3 minutes at a time for Dhuhr and Asr, and then exhaustive amounts of fried food. Then we're gonna pray Taraweeh and belch our way through those, and then we're gonna be at like late night restaurants and hookah joints or whatever through the night, and then start all over again. Ramadan is a time to restore the romantic, loving relationship between a husband and a wife. Because if it was just about permissibility, Allah wouldn't have used the word rafath, and He wouldn't have used the word ila. He wouldn't have used that. It's been opened up for you. And when Allah opens it up, He says, Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. You, those women, they are clothing for you, libas for you. The word libas in Arabic is used for garment, clothing. It's also used for something being mixed up. It's been described figuratively to mean that women are your cover. They hide your faults. They hide your, they protect you. Like husbands and wives are not supposed to share each other's secrets. Like a clothing covers our secrets, right? And our shame, etc., etc. But in the context of these ayat, we usually take this phrase out of the ayah and talk about it generically. In the context of these ayat, it's actually literally describing a very romantic image. You are wrapped up in one another, like clothes are. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. I'm making a point to mention these things because this is Allah's word. Allah wants this kind of a beautiful relationship to happen between a man and a woman in the most spiritual time of our existence, Ramadan. Why in the world would Allah talk about a man and a woman being the most romantic they've ever been in a time where they're supposed to be the most spiritual and otherworldly?
There's a deep connection between these two things. There's a deep connection between the loving relationship between a husband and a wife and both of their relationship with Allah. Our spiritual efforts in Ramadan are going to be incomplete. Those of us that are married, they're going to be incomplete if this isn't there. أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. Men have to go out of their way to wear cologne, to be romantic, to dress up nicely, to eat things that don't smell, and if they do, to take a breath mint, to brush their teeth, to take her out, not just pass out, to get in shape. Do this stuff, guys. Ladies, this is not the month to bring up old fights. This is not the month to argue about old stuff. This is not the month to, hey, want to go out? No. This is not that month. This is not the month where he says sorry and you say, I don't want to hear it. This is not that month. This is a month to be romantic. This is a divinely ordained honeymoon. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. I'm telling you. Why is that though? You know why that is? Because you have to understand the spiritual side of this. This is most eloquently explained in Surah Al-Tahrim. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has the heaviest burden ever placed on a human being, the Quran. And he has to deliver it within 23 years. And even the slightest of disturbance at home, the slightest of faults in the relationship at home will compromise the burden he has to carry. And so in Surah Al-Tahrim, the Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu jahidil kuffara wal munafiqina waghluz alayhim is at the end. Struggle against the kuffar and the munafiqin. That's at the end. And in the beginning, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu lima tuharrimu ma ahallallahu lak tabtaghi mardata azwajik. Sort out what's going on at home first. If this huge burden of revelation has been placed upon us, Allah is actually acknowledging the fact that if harmony doesn't exist between the spouses, then this word will not spread. That its goodness will not spread. It can only spread with people that are at peace themselves. And you cannot be at peace in a marriage if this isn't there. If the loving romance isn't there. It has to be there. This is something ordained by Allah Azza wa Jal. Especially in this age of fitna. Especially in an age when a man and a woman are called to be attracted towards all kinds of entertainment, all kinds of other images, all kinds of other environments. They have to be protective of each other. عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Allah already knew that you were cheating yourselves. This means two things. In the original context, some mufassirun have narrated that some companions who were married, obsessed with his wife, thought that the same laws of the Jews applied to them, which means the Jews were not allowed to be intimate with their wives, even at night, when they fasted. But things got out of hand and they were together. And they hid it. And they thought, I don't know what I've done. Is that really wrong? And Allah hasn't said anything about it yet, so they're not sure. And so they were cheating themselves, meaning they didn't know it was wrong. They didn't know it was right, but they were still doing that. That's one meaning. But there's yet another meaning. Allah has opened a door for you. There are, when you go on a spiritual high, you say, I want to leave everything of the world behind. And what's everything of the world? Well, your desires. And Allah Azza wa Jal wants you to balance both of those things. And so He says, you're actually cheating yourself if you don't do that. You've been kidding yourself. You think you're just going to have it one way and not the other way. You're a human being, فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَعَفَى عَنْكُمْ. So He accepted your repentance and He's pardoned you. He's pardoned all of you. فَالْآن, now, بَاشِرُوهُنَّ. Al-mubashara, they say, ma'aha fi thawbin, be in one, literally, in Arabic, this is why I said this is a rated conversation. Be under one sheet with them. This is one of the first meanings of bashiruhunna. Then the word bashara comes from bishr, which means skin. Enjoying the skin, literally. Then bashara comes from bashara, good news. Enjoy each other's smiles. Bashiruhunna. This is literally the meanings that come from it, and it actually doesn't have to do all the way with the sexual act. It actually has to do with everything before that. And that's why there's even a narration, for example, إِنَّهُ كَانَ يُقَبِّلُ وَيُبَاشِرُ. Even during the fast, the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss, and he used to be somewhat intimate. And yubashiru is used. So Allah says, you may be romantic with them, have foreplay with them, hug them, kiss them, that kind of thing. فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And pursue what Allah has written for you. Allah has made this open for you. So don't make it a part of your relationship.
And don't run from it. And this is something that, it has to be mentioned because, I feel the more I've worked with different kinds of communities. I don't come from a super traditional family background myself, but because of the work that I do and the Quran studies and all of it, I've been around very traditional communities, some very conservative communities, etc. And I've noticed that this kind of a thing is actually shunned. Like even the romantic relationship between a husband and a wife is considered disrespectful. No. After you turn 30, you're just supposed to make chai for each other. It's like, I don't know what planet you came from, but this is not our religion. It creates problems when this isn't there. Allah says, فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا, and eat and drink. And eat and drink. Now he put that second. He put that eating and drinking is a need. And that's a matter of desire. He mentioned that first. By the way, if Allah just wanted to say it's halal at night, the ayah would have been done, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. We can move on. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَعَفَى عَنْكُمْ فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Oh my God, He's not letting the subject go. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's not letting you see that? وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا. Ab khalo pilo. Now you can eat and drink too. حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر, until the white thread becomes clear from the black thread, meaning the horizon appears, right, of Fajr. ثم أتموا الصيام إلى الليل, then go on and complete the fast until the night. ولا تباشروهن, and don't even get fresh with them, basically. وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد, while you're in i'tikaf in the masjid. Meaning while you're devoting yourself time in the masjid, that's the time to completely cut off. So even if she comes and visits you, don't be like, can I just give you a hug at least? I miss you. No. Now you gotta just chill out totally. That's لا تباشروهن وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد. Allah says, تلك حدود الله فلا تقربوها. Those are the limits prescribed by Allah. Don't even go near them. Now this means don't even go near them, meaning observe the i'tikaf in the masjid and its sanctity and don't violate that. That's one meaning. But the other is, this bond of marriage is the had of Allah. Don't go near breaking it. Don't go, this is part of the hudud. This is not one had of Allah, it's tilka hududullah, plural. If it was only referring to one had, which is violating the law of, the i'tikaf, it would have been dhalika haddullah. But it's tilka hududullah, it's the plural. All of what I've mentioned to you right now, these are all bounds set by Allah. فَلَا تَقْرَبُوهَا, don't even go near them. Don't even go near them. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ. That is how Allah clarifies His miraculous signs for people. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ, so they can have taqwa. This is the last part of our discussion today before I give you the conclusion. Why does this ayah end with, so Allah can clarify His ayat for people? The entire conversation was, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. You're the ones that are fasting. You're the ones that are fasting. So I was expecting, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so you can have taqwa. But Allah says the romantic, loving relationship between a husband and a wife is something all humanity needs. And if they don't have it, they won't be able to protect themselves from all kinds of chaos. This institution of marriage is something sacred within Islam and even outside Islam. Even outside Islam. And Allah has profoundly articulated that message that society will suffer when the institution, the romantic institution, the loving institution of marriage suffers. When that's properly not there, it'll be all humanity that will pay the price. SubhanAllah. So beautiful. So this is a month of many beautiful things. It's this, if you look at the Christian tradition, they had their spirituality was so much that they said, we're not even going to get married. Right? Because they wanted to deny sexuality and say, if you want spirituality, you can't have sexuality. What does Allah do in His book? The most spiritual month also becomes the most sensual month. The most spiritual month in all of the year. The most sacred month. And then He talks about this. Of all the times He could have talked about it, He talked about it here. And the other beauty of this is the time when shayateen are chained. If there's a marriage that's going to be reformed, it's going to be reformed in this month. And if a woman's going to be stubborn and she's going to say, well, he should love me for my personality. Good luck with that. And if a guy's going to be, it's not for me. You have only yourselves to blame. As I conclude, inshallah ta'ala, what I want to share with you is something about the context of these ayat. I talked to you about the overall context of Baqarah in the introduction. In the conclusion, I want to share with you the goal of fasting was taqwa. The goal of Ramadan was to reintroduce you to the Quran and make you appreciative of the Quran. And the entire institution between fasting and Ramadan, the whole thing, the fact that you have taqwa and the fact that you are now reconnected with the Quran, where does it practically manifest itself first? Outside of Ramadan. Where does it show up first? You know what? The ayah before these ayat began was an ayah about distributing inheritance fairly. The ayah after these ayat are done are وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ. Don't consume each other's money using falsehood. وَلَا تُدْلُوا بِهَا إِلَى الْحُكَّامِ. And don't use it to draw people and draw towards you the rulers, meaning don't pay bribes. لِتَأْكُلُوا فَرِيقًا مِنْ أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ. So you can eat a portion from the people's money, بِالْإِثْمِ, sinfully. وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, and you already know. Don't be corrupt in your financial dealings. The first place taqwa will show up is how you make your money. That's the first place it'll show up. You can pray every Taraweeh in the masjid, recite the Quran 10 times over, and then go back to your haram business and your cheating ways and your scamming and your lying on contracts and on taxes, and you can go back to inaccurately reporting your income and underpaying your employees. You can go back to all that stuff. You have nothing of taqwa. That was all artificial. It's going to show up in the way you and I earn. We are so concerned about the meat being halal. We are not concerned about the paycheck that got the meat being halal. The money with which you bought has to be halal. Fix your financial dealings. That'll be the first place you'll notice a transaction. Allah Azza wa Jalla is profound in mentioning this, because if you can stop yourself from the most basic of your needs, eating and drinking in the month of Ramadan, why do we earn our money? For a better life, for better food, for better drink. But now you're not going to be as desperate to earn the best of it at any cost. You're going to observe the laws of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Taqwa will be there, and then Allah will provide from wherever He wishes. I wanted to share these few things with you and finally encourage all of you, inshallah. I'm very excited about the study of Surah Al-Baqarah. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it in its entirety, but my intention is to go through as much of it as we can. I won't rush. I'm just going to go as much as we can do every single night. I feel very strongly about Surah Al-Baqarah. I feel that if you've gone through all of Baqarah, you've gone through a good comprehensive understanding, an overview of the entire religion. Like the entire deen is summarized so beautifully in Surah Al-Baqarah, you know. And so that's why I chose this surah. I could have gone with maybe a more familiar part of the Quran, like the last juz or something this Ramadan. But I felt like, especially the last juz has difficult vocabulary for a lot of people to understand. And Baqarah is Allah's own order, right? Finish Fatiha and get into this surah. So I'm hoping that you guys will join that effort. The URL to, many of you are, you're watching. You may be part of this already, and some of you don't know. I'll be broadcasting lectures every single night. Inshallah ta'ala. Here's what my day is gonna look like. I'm gonna study all day, and more than study, just sit there and think all day about these few ayat, and then inshallah ta'ala, memorize some Quran, study some Quran, and then in the evenings we'll have our Isha prayer and an hour of dars on Surah Al-Baqarah, and then the Taraweeh prayer. Inshallah, and the hour of dars on Baqarah is going to be broadcast live. So I'm hoping everybody joins in. It's Quran.bayina.com/Ramadan 2016. Please do me a favor and spread the word about it, inshallah, that we can get the maximum khair. My hope is, if nothing else, my ambition is thousands, if not millions of people, inshallah ta'ala, come out of the month of Ramadan knowing something more and loving something more about the Quran this year. So may Allah Azza wa Jalla accept this effort and put barakah in it, and keep me and yourself on the right path, and allow us to correct our mistakes and keep us from making mistakes, and say that which benefits people and brings them closer to Allah and gives them more love and appreciation of this deen. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.